Okay, hello YouTube. Hope everyone's good. Having a wonderful day, I hope. Uh, I mentioned earlier that I would be doing other videos and this would be an information channel, and so today I'm not doing anything on the truck. I am actually doing a little bit on scuba diving. So this is just a pretty basic um, overview. I apologize if the camera's a little shaky. I don't have an actual setup here, so I'm having to hold the camera. Anyway, um, so a lot of people ask me when I dive, when they see pictures of me diving, they like to ask about my mask. And so I thought, why not? Why not cover that? So I have the three masks I own up here. This is just going to be a short segment on those. And if you're an expert diver, you've been doing this for years and years and years, what I'm going to cover in this video probably will not interest you in the least. But you might be interested, so feel free to stick around, but just know you're not going to learn anything spectacular or super exciting that you never thought of. If you're an intermediate diver and you're trying to stay current, you're just getting into diving, or you haven't dove in a long time and you're kind of looking for tips and tricks and what might have come out recently, this video might be for you. So I'm going to stop addressing levels of divers out there and just get into it. So actually this weekend coming up, I am going to renew my my scuba certification, and I'm actually going to Orlando, Florida to do it. Reason being, you can actually dive. Little known fact: you can actually dive in the seas, or the living seas as it used to be called, in Epcot at Disney World. Um, really cool place to dive. I do it because it's warm. I know I'm gonna see fish, and if I don't, the only other option really for me is to do a recertification class here in Texas. And honestly, it's no fun to just sit at the bottom of a pool and do stuff you already know how to do, and there's pretty much a guarantee that nothing interesting is gonna happen. It's just you pay money and you sit at the bottom of a pool. So rather than do that, I'm gonna go for a weekend in Disney, and while I'm there, take a dip in their tank. So that's the story. Each of these masks, I've used all of them, and if you want to know, and now by the way, I'll probably post a video of that dive, and I'll get more details on that in another video. But if you have questions about it or you're curious about it, you can message me, leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, you can always wait until that video and I'll cover that more in depth. But right now, I'm just covering mainly these masks. So, the mask out of this group that's my favorite is this one, which is this is the Sea Diver. It's tempered glass. This is probably my favorite mask that I've ever dove with. I don't care for the clear mask like this one. I didn't even start with a clear mask like this one. To be honest, I started with that one. On my very first dive ever, when I was doing a discovery dive, I did use one of these, and it was fine. I didn't have any issues with it. I don't have any issues with this one. This is actually a very good mask, and I like this mask. And the majority of divers out there, especially beginners, are probably going to use one of these. They're relatively cheap. You can pick them up for as little as $20 to $30, a decent one. They still have tempered glass. They're plastic framed, but I mean, unless you're going down like 200 feet, who cares? Or you're going diving where you're going to be smacking some rocks and cave diving. But if you're a beginner, you're not going to be doing that, obviously. But depending on the mask, some even experts use clear mask. It just depends on what you prefer. For me, I prefer these, particularly because they're good at this pair in particular. It's easier to pick out different fish that kind of like to hide, like flounder or maybe wobbegong sharks. They like to hide in the gravel or along coral reefs, and these make it easier to pick them out. The other thing they do is they also block sunlight, so that it's almost like wearing a pair of sunglasses when you go underwater. So when I come up on the surface, or when I'm just bobbing on the surface before the dive, pre-dive, that makes it's like wearing sunglasses. It reminds me of wearing my Ray-Bans, honestly. These are cool because, well, one, other than the fact that they look really cool, they're cool because they're blue on the outside, but whenever you look through them, they've kind of got a yellow tint. I don't know how well that's picking that up. So these are actually pretty good on dives where there's low light, low visibility, because they kind of highlight your surroundings, and they make it easier to pick out fish and sharks. Basically, in my opinion, these are the sea divers are actually an upgrade to these, and these are the Ocean Ways. I picked these up, I think, for $60 or something like that. You can find them on Amazon. They have the version where it's actually a separated dual lens, and then they have the mono lens, and I prefer the mono lens in this. Actually, they only sold this particular set in the dual lens, and to be honest, I think this is the only dual lens set that I've ever really liked. The rest of the masks that I prefer tend to be mono lens. These are nice because they're low volume, which means that you're not going to have as much air in there, so it's not going to fog up as easily. They're very easy to clear. You get water in the mask, it only takes a second to clear them. You don't need to take a huge breath to clear them, and they're easy to clean, easy to maintain, and they just feel comfortable. They're light. These aren't so small. They're a little bit bigger, and in comparison, you can actually see that they're substantially wider, in fact. They're not excessively heavy or anything. They just, I don't know, I can just feel the width there. So, plus about that, you get more space. You can see more out of these. Just fact, you can see more. I don't care. You know, there's no way around that. There's just, you got more visible space there. Downside, there's more to clear, and really, I think that's the only downside to them, to be honest. They're really comfortable, I have to say, especially with this big white strap they have on the back. Easy to clean. They're all easy to clean. All masks are easy to clean. The only thing you got to worry about with these is honestly scratching that finish that they have on there. These, I think, were actually $80, $90. These were the more expensive of the two. Both pair work really well, but I find myself using these pair whether I'm doing an indoor aquarium dive. I used these when I went to the Georgia aquarium dive, and I also used them when I went to my last dive in Florida. On my very first dive, I used those, but I find myself preferring these. If you are going to clean your mask, and when you decide to clean them, soap and water. Just warm soap and water. That'll get them clean. And of course, be careful when you're drying them that you don't scratch the lens. Newspaper works. Microfiber towels work. For defogging, I find that personally the best thing to use is a mixture of water and Johnson's baby shampoo. Like, seriously, that's the best. It works better than the actual defog stuff in a lot of cases, in my opinion. So that's what I use. Or, believe it or not, toothpaste. Toothpaste works. You smear it on the inside, you rinse it out, and that's a great way to. Actually, before I say that, let me say it works for that, but toothpaste is better for when you first get your mask and it's brand new and you just get out of the box. Clean it with toothpaste. So, just so you know, baby shampoo defog, toothpaste for cleaning. Cool? Alright. So later on, hopefully this week, maybe even tonight, I'll release another video. I'll do another video and I'll talk about the dives that I did, particularly the aquarium dives. I did one at Georgia Aquarium, which is fun. I like that dive, just to touch on it. But my big issue with that dive was that there wasn't a lot of freedom. I did a rebreather dive and I dove for, I think I was under for 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. Um, which was cool. I got to swim with the whale sharks. I got to do a lot, but they were very restrictive. It was like you have to stay with your guy at all times. There is no breaking away, but it was a small group. It was a group of 3, including the guide, and there were 2 groups, so that wasn't absolutely horrible. It was just, it wasn't, it wasn't the best. When you have a big environment like that, you just want to explore. But they treat it like an actual open water dive where you like you just no, you have to stay with your person. In Disney, they do a tour. When you first get in the tank, they'll do a tour, they'll do a swim around, and then after the swim around, um, they'll they'll let you go. They turn you loose, and they're like, okay, go explore, have fun. Just mind the rules, and you'll be fine. And of course, they go through a safety briefing, and I'll get into that and all that stuff in the other video. But it's a much smaller aquarium when you compare it to the Georgia aquarium, but it was more fun of a dive because there was a lot more you could do. You had a little bit more freedom. There's more exploring you could do. You could goof off. You could invert yourself if you wanted to. You could sit on the sea floor or the floor of the aquarium. Nobody cared. So, to whereas Georgia, it felt like a lot of protocol and red tape. But anyway, yeah, so that's my preference. Some of you guys, when you first start, will prefer these, and some of you guys might stick with the clear goggles. They're easy to maintain. They work in all lighting situations. They're not the best, in my opinion, but they're a broad spectrum. You can use them for anything. Whereas some of these tinted lenses, not all, but some of them actually will make your life harder in some situations, like when you have low visibility. I know that pair is good for low visibility. I can work with this pair in low visibility, but it's not the best. In low visibility, if I'm being completely honest, this is probably the best pair to have when compared to these. Otherwise, I'd want that pair. If you do decide to pick up, by the way, if you ever, in any of my videos, see me wearing these and I'm diving, it's because you know what hit the ceiling. I will only wear these. These are my backup. That's literally why I bought them. They are for no other reason. I wouldn't have them otherwise. So when I dive, I keep these on me, and I'll have one of these 2 on my face. But these are my backup, which, another thing, by the way, always have backup gear. It makes life easy. It'll save your dive trip. It's better to go with backup and have a little too much than not enough. It might be annoying to lug around and tote around. You might think you'll never use it, and you might never use it. But if you ever have to, you'll be glad you had it. So O-rings and spare mask, bare mask straps, stuff like that. Just keep it on hand. I had a dive where actually I lost my I lost one of my O-rings had actually broken, and I had to swap it out. But I had a spare O-ring, and that's the only reason I was able to go on that dive. I would have had to sit on the dive boat the entire dive otherwise. So, just, word to the wise. Make sure you have your, be as prepared as you can, I'll say. I'll also do a video on the rest of my gear, but for those of you wondering, I use Cressi. Outside of my mask, I prefer to use Cressi. That's my brand of choice. They're an Italian company. They are very good at what they do. They make a lot of gear for rental companies, and they also make a lot of gear for, most of their gear is tailored towards beginners and intermediate divers. Scuba Pro, Aqualung, those guys make stuff that's geared more towards intermediate to expert divers, but I find Cressi to be a good middle ground. Their stuff is affordable. You can buy a pack like I did. I bought the Cressi R1 pack on Amazon, and I'll show that in one of my videos. And it works fine. I have no issue with it. Is it the top of the line? No. But it works. It's comfortable, and I breathe easy underwater. It's something that I've gotten accustomed to using, and it's by far probably, out of the BCDs that I've used, and I've used Mares, I've used Cressi, I've used Scuba Pro. I think Scuba Pro is my favorite, but that was a rental, and it just didn't feel the same as my Cressy R1, so that's what I prefer to use. Anyway, I will catch you guys in the next video, and hopefully it'll be posted before the end of the week, and I'll catch you later. Peace.